All right, click the links to join the channel here or over on Subscribestar. So Avatar Part 2, too woke for current year. I slogged through it last night. It's a kid's movie, but it doesn't seem to translate to adults. And when I found out that it made $3 billion, I was surprised that it really took me by it. Some movies I can understand. $3 billion. 2009 was a different social media environment, and it was also a different cultural environment. If this movie came out today, no, it would not make $3 billion. The social media environment is just too radically different. So there's some themes, like the movie itself is really derivative from Harry Harrison's trilogy of the Death Planet or Death World or whatever. And there's a little bit of Alan Dean Foster's books in the series where he's got that anthropologist goes to an alien planet and does some exploring. So it's derivative kind of in a good way. That's not the problem. The problem is the blue-eyed, blonde-haired man is pure evil. I can't help but notice I see that theme in Hollywood quite a bit, where the most evil person on screen has got blue eyes. Weird Hollywood. So it also has the standard Bolshevik concept, which by now you should be getting very tired of abandon your blood family for a newfound family. They do this in comic books all the time, where the blonde hair, blue eyed girl has to cast aside her istophobic family because they're so istophobic, because whatever's popular in current year is going to withstand the test of time. So she needs to cut off her blood tribe and go team up with this ragtag group of pox who are politically correct. It's like, this is just Saul Alinsky, Frankfurt School, Karl Marx's cultural Marxism programming 101. Like, yeah, it's weird how the atrocities of communism aren't taught in school, like, at all, or cultural Marxism, or Moses the Moses Mordecai Levy in the early history of Bolshevism. It's like, that is not taught in school so much. You guys really focus on this other group of people. All of it is really weird. Anyway, so the social media environment is radically different. 2022 to 2009. So no, even if this movie came out, the original Avatar came out in current year, it just wouldn't hit the same. It would do fine, but it's not. I don't think it would have the same cultural impact. Now here's the thing. Hollywood knows who the quartering is, and Geeks and Gamers, and all those kind of guys on YouTube who are over 100,000 subs. They are moving the needle in some regard. They're on Twitter. They're on YouTube. Hollywood does know who those people are. That's why they affect the bottom line. The one movie where they didn't, like, where this, I don't know, Phantom Menace, Comicsgate type of crowd, people who are vaguely, I don't know exactly if they're right of center, but they're like libertarians. They're not politically correct. They're willing to discuss things a little bit more honestly. That does affect Hollywood. The one time I saw it where it didn't was the Captain Marvel movie with Brie Larson hit $1 billion, and they go, see, it got woke, it didn't go broke. It won. I don't think the movie was that woke. It wasn't very much of anything. But I'm just a girl and Blockbuster. Hey, remember Barry? It's like, just shut the fuck up. It was nestled in between the two biggest films in Hollywood history, in terms of a budget and in terms of return on investment. So that's why I suspect it hit $1 billion. The thing is, like with the quartering of Geeks and Gamers, that does affect Hollywood. That's why the Twitter kids get so outraged about the YouTubers who talk about movies, because they know it moves the needle. And even if you say woke as a shorthand to mean so much, and it means different things to different people, these Twitter kids just lose their mind when you call something woke, and they just get really defensive. It's like, you're defending these billion-dollar movie companies. It's like, no, they're not exact. I mean, yes, but they're defending the Bolshevik ideas behind the movie companies. And the funny thing, like, I can't understand these damn kids today, is that even when I was a kid, I never thought that the kids knew at all. Even as a kid, I knew that the views were like you look at adults. I looked at adults as a kid and I thought, oh, they're further to the right than we are now. We're probably also going to be further to the right because they know things that we don't know. And there were some kids who saw that and some kids who didn't. And I think a lot of it was like, just who your parents, what they indoctrinated you into. Anyway, so in this movie, these themes of these movie, you're going to get this Hollywood told me European people are evil for the past 70 years. That's how I know that European blue-eyed people are the greatest evil on earth, because Hollywood has said that for 70 years. The same people that cheered Weinstein in Hollywood and are on those flight logs to that Moloch sacrificial island, those people told me that European people are evil. The same people who applauded the actual monsters in Hollywood. They said that the same people that sacrifice kids to Moloch say that green and blue-eyed people are evil. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, watch movies and pay attention to who the protagonist, the antagonist is. Once you see it, you'll never unsee it, and you'll all of a sudden you'll know that the people who talk about it aren't so crazy. So first of all, the movie is a little kids movie and a very stupid one. Literally, the first 5 minutes of the film is a blonde man abusing a blonde woman in a bar. It's set 150 years in the future, which is a little bit of a optimistic hopium on finding blonde-haired, blue-eyed people in the future. I sigh and I shake my head. That sets the stage for the film. Don't say anything in the comments. Those unpredictably violent blonde people, because that's exactly what you see around you. Violent blonde people. Wish me luck with this video. But that was 2009. The cultural war was in a radically different place back then. We could see nonsense like this. It wasn't as big a deal back then. Even if it was like back then, that was a very preachy movie. Things are different now. People are waking up to the fact that this contingent of Hollywood people, they really do just hate blonde people. And blonde is just a euphemism, but you know what I mean. Even without looking at the movie, you know that the bad guys are going to have blue or green eyes, and the good guys, or the voice of moral authority, or the good scientists even within a bad organization, they're going to be POCs because there's the message there. And the natives are going to be the moral authority, wise and fully human. They have so much to teach the blue-eyed people who invented spaceships. That's how ridiculous all this is. There's this, so the aliens have got like domesticated animals. I don't know if they read it in writing, but they must have metallurgy, oring, and mining because they're working metals. I think the artwork they have is from, they smelted metals to make that. So that's a very advanced civilization. Anyway, so we have so much to learn from this Stone Age culture. Okay. No, you don't have a whole lot to learn from a Stone Age culture because if they don't have reading and writing, they can't pass anything down. Oral traditions are remarkably limited to the human memory, which effing sucks. That's why people invented reading and writing. So there's this myth that Stone Age cultures were environmentalists. Like you see this in Hollywood, but then when you actually study it, you go, nope, they didn't give a shit. In most cases they didn't. Like we nurture the land and we're in touch. No, dude, that's not. You can go study the physical and cultural anthropology of American Indians, and that is, or even Pacific Islanders, is fascinating too. They often overran the resources. They did not. No, they were not. No, they would cut down literally every tree until they realized, oh, we washed away the topsoil and we don't have any wood to build boats. I guess we'll die. That happened in Pacific Islanders. They often didn't overrun the resources they had because they had a high die rate because of diseases and violence, horrific levels of violence. And for some reason, Hollywood's a little bit light on that. The one thing Dances with Wolves covered, like they did, Dances with Wolves did a little bit where the guys, Kevin Costner, I think, is talking about the Indians invading the Indians, even Stone Toss had a cartoon about that. The thing is, all this kind of stuff, once you see it, you just never unsee it. And it's funny that Sigourney Weaver was in this because she's in a house in the woods, and if you watch that, they did the same weird thing. The coded European characters are evil. The POCs are the voice of moral authority. There's two fair-skinned scientists in that movie, and they're talking about some horrific sociopathic thing because, of course, they're fair-skinned. And there's a black scientist who's working for this evil organization, but he's in the background. He's the voice of moral authority. He gives him a sad look, and he's just so sad that he has to be part of this organization. And they did that a couple other times in the movie too, where there's a POC kid who has to be the voice of moral authority, and all the fair-skinned kids are just stupid sociopathic alcoholics. It's the most ridiculous thing in the world. The thing is, once you see it, you never can unsee it. You can't go back. It's a one-way journey. I know how cliche that, like, the rabbit hole and the they live glasses. I mean, it's true. Like, so once you see it, you're like, yeah, I get it. We're on the same page now. It's like we may disagree on many things, but in this regard, we're on the same page. So in 2009, the theme was America Bad, BlondManBad. The lead evil colonel has piercing, Colonel Quidditch or something. He has these piercing ice blue eyes because, of course, he does. Don't say anything in the comments. Those damn Austrians. Once you see it, it's a forever journey. Honestly, it ruins movies, and that's kind of okay because they were almost always propaganda. It's set somewhere in the future, and like even the movies I enjoyed as a kid, I realized it's probably better not to go back and watch them. Otherwise, you're going to find this. I will say Star Wars, Lucas's Star Wars, seems to hold up in that regard. That it wasn't just cultural Marxist nonsense. So this film's set, I think, 150 years in the future, and in the future, it's still blonde man bad. It's not Asian, with a high birth rate, or African with an even higher birth rate. It's European man bad, which is kind of weird because in terms of conservation and environmentalism, Europeans are number one. India and China are not so good on these topics, but in Hollywood world, the reverse is very much true. It's as if Hollywood is this inverted propaganda world designed to spread stochastic hatred against one group of people, namely you. So in the future, it will not be us getting to another planet. It will be China, which is funny because China is actually deleting rare animals in Africa right now. Hollywood seems to skip anything that deals with that. Hey, let's hire the Africans to slaughter the rhinos, drive them to extinction. Why are they? So the Chinese are doing this, hiring the Africans to do this. So there's no European people involved, and they can't find a way to blame European people. You go, so we make soup or something. We make medicines out of the horn. It's like, I don't know what it is. It's like cartilage, fingernail material. It's like there's no medicinal effects in the horn or the tusks of elephants. It's like, oh, that's all an African China. It's like, how do we make white man bad? We can't. We can't. So what do we do to the story? We'll just ignore it. Congratulations to Slash of Guns N' Roses for at least touching on it something a little bit. So Hollywood skips anything that makes anyone who's not blonde hair, blue eyed, or green eyed person look bad. You think I'm crazy? It's like, buddy, watch movies. Don't just watch movies. Take notes. Movies, TV shows, commercial. Yikes, my guy, touch grass. I'm just suggesting you gather data to see the world around you. Just let people enjoy things. Or you could be a scientist and gather data on this narrative that they're pushing. Just gather data. Or what are you going to do with it? Nice try, FBI. Just gather the information. Just take notes. Learning never hurt anyone. Well, anyway, so the only way the movie works is that if you think Europeans are sociopaths. I know Europeans are sociopaths because Hollywood told me that blonde hair, blue-eyed people are sociopaths for the past 70 years. Yeah, I'm suggesting that perhaps Hollywood has been lying to you. And so Europeans fly off into space and they decide to destroy a sentient and sapient species. Look around the modern world. Is it European people who are most likely to do such things? Or perhaps other groups are more likely? This kind of thinking is only possible with 70 years of generational globalist Hollywood brainwashing. And if you made the movie, I don't know, in the 90s, people might have laughed it off. 2009 kind of felt like that was the last point in the timeline to make it. In current year, it's too late. It's clowny outside, it's getting clownier, but people are starting to see it in a way and talk about it in a way they couldn't do in 2009. Yeah, 2009 was MySpace and Facebook and I think Twitter and YouTube. It's like, yes, it was, but it wasn't as ubiquitous as it is now, especially with, I don't know what cell phone technology was like back then. It just wasn't, people weren't immersed in it like they are now. So my point to all this is that 2009 is not 2022. People are aware that Hollywood is not what they thought it was. Yes, I'm halfway down that rabbit hole, or I hope I'm almost at the bottom of it, because I really don't think I could stand things getting any weirder. But a lot of other people are kind of catching on that there is a problem with Hollywood. In the sequel, the theme is that colonization is bad and that there's some environmental message, but people are aware of Hollywood nonsense in a way that they weren't in 2009. This would not be the hit if it came out today. People would call it woke, I think, and there'd be a counter narrative. The Phantom Menace would be spreading stuff around. Like, that results in real dollars. The Phantom Menace does affect the bottom line. The Twitter kids get outraged about it. They go, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It's like, then why are you getting outraged about it? So look at the Woman King. Their narrative doesn't fly as such anymore when it's so ridiculous, because you can just go online and learn the truth of the Dahomey tribe. You're not going to find it on the first page of the search results, but like 3 pages in, you find it, and then people start talking about it on Odyssey, BitChute, Twitter, Gab, Minds, and YouTube about the Dahomey tribe, and then the mainstream people have to pick it up and address it, and then it's like, what happened to the movie? I think it bombed. So the first movie is that the natives are so wise, which is an obvious analogy to the human experience, but their narrative there also falls apart because people are just people. Humans have been invading their neighbors since we left the trees 10 million years ago. But in Hollywood, cultural Marxist world, only Europeans get the blame. They say they value diversity and it is their strength. Well, that's what the English, French, and Spanish and Portuguese were bringing to the New World: cultural enrichment. It's how well did open borders work out for the Indians? It seems like the left have this weird double standard. Like, do you value cultural enrichment and diversity or not? Oh, we value it now, but we didn't value it 300 years ago. Okay, so in the future, apparently the Europeans go to another planet, and they do it what the Chinese are doing to Africa right now. The Europeans go slaughter a sentient and sapient race of people because, of course, the people of the light are bloodthirsty sociopaths because blonde man bad. Africa, Asia, Latin good. Only blue-eyed person is bad. But in this movie, there is no United Nations or any other countries that might want to stop this slaughter. It's only evil European people, which is hysterical to think that Europeans will be in any position to reach the stars in 100 years. The Chinese will be the only ones with that capability, but they probably wouldn't care. And if they did, they would probably be worse than the Europeans because they're literally worse than them now, which I realize is kind of on thin ice to say on social media, but may I direct you to, as I described, what they're doing to the rhinos and elephants in Africa right now with that trade in exotic medicines and potions and the ivory trade. It's, oh, we found this one blonde-haired collector. Yeah, but out of 100, the other 99 are going to unfortunately reside in China. So 2009 is not 2022. This is not going to hit the same way. But, hey, I was surprised that Wakanda Part 2 did so well. Now, here's the thing. Their 2009 version of woke is almost cute compared to the modern version. Avatar 2 is just going to be a checklist of Frankfurt School talking points about how to get people to hate each other. Yes, people love their bread and circuses, but the story is a strawman version of Americans doing a Hollywood version of napalm in Vietnam. Even for Hollywood, Avatar was cringy. It made $3 billion. Part 2, I think, in present day is going to be just too preachy. The social media environment has changed. The culture has changed. The window has shifted, but people are also starting to go down the rabbit hole. Because even in the first one, the Europeans are slaughtering people left and right, but the Mexican lady pilot refuses to obey orders. She turns her helicopter around, and she says, I didn't sign up for this stuff. So, oh, thanks. It kind of reminds me of the CBS Star Trek, where there's a black lady and a white pilot, and it's like season 1, episode 1 of this STD Star Trek, where he has to be pompous, overbearing, arrogant, and she has to correct him, and he dies for his arrogance. It's like, season 1, episode 1. Weird. I can't help but notice all these things. And like, if you have a good memory, maybe you notice it without seeing it, put it on paper. But honestly, if you start making notes about this stuff, it becomes incandescently obvious. So the Hollywood narrative will keep getting pushed, no matter how ridiculous it is. If you remind them, like, oh, hey, the Aztecs or something similar, they'll quickly look for a shiny object to distract you. Or if you remind them of current demographics and ask, why are all the bad guys 150 years from now all blue-eyed? When statistically they won't exist, they don't have an answer to that. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. Check me out on Odyssey, bitch. You subscribe, star. I'll see you guys all next episode.